Hi, welcome to the Vergas Show. I'm Sherry Hansen. Thanks for joining me today on this beautiful day in Vergas. But, you know, Darren, when you come to Vergas, any day is pretty much beautiful as far as I'm concerned. I'm here to talk to you today about the Blandid Foundation. A lot of you are maybe not familiar with what the Blandid Foundation is, but our community, along with Frazee and Wolf Lake, have been given a wonderful opportunity of people being able to apply to become a Blandid alumni, which is why I have Darren Burby here with me today. He's going to tell us a little bit, in just a little bit, about his experience of taking part in the Blandid Foundation retreat. And in October, it's October 6th through the 10th up in Grand Rapids, they are going to be picking 12 women and 12 men from those three communities, and they're going to get an experience on leadership. Vergas is a wonderful community, but without leadership and without community involvement, it could be a lot different story. And I think that's with any rural community that we have in our area and throughout the state of Minnesota. And so that's why the Blandid Foundation is such a wonderful foundation, because what they have done since 1985, they've provided intense leadership training to people of rural Minnesota and their communities. And the reason that they've done this is they've wanted to see the small communities in rural Minnesota continue to thrive, and the only way they can do that is through leadership. And Darren, you're an alumni, and you, as I've gotten to know you, you're a senior lender at the bank in Vergas, but I know you're very community involved, and that just exudes from you that you know how to lead a group, you know how to be part of a group, and maybe Blandid had something to do with that. Why don't you tell me a little bit about your experience?
Sure. I was pretty young when I went to Blandid. I didn't realize they started in 1985, because I went there in 1993, and so 21 years ago. And so I was in my 20s yet, and it was perfect for me because there was there's 8 people from our community. I went with communities of Battle Lake, Perham, and Pelican Rapids. 8 from each, 24 total. And I was one of the younger ones. But they took a whole wide range of community involvement people. It wasn't just the young leaders, it was, or the potential leaders. It was existing leaders. It was some of the older people that maybe were retired even, that could use the program. I think the main thing, and they'll tell you this, is Blandid is an outstate leadership training. They don't do anything in the metro. It's not Minneapolis-St. Paul. It's not 9-county metro. It's small communities, outstate Minnesota leadership, which is very cool because there's differences between metro and non-metro leadership groups. There's differences in volunteerism. A lot of different personalities come to the table with in small towns, and a lot of times you don't have 30 volunteers for an 8-member committee, so you have to learn to get the most out of your volunteers.
You all have different gifts, don't they?
You all have different gifts. You all have different personalities. And one thing that I really enjoyed is one day we spent taking a personality test called the Myers-Briggs personality test, and it was interesting to see where you fit. Are you introverted? Are you extroverted? How do you handle conflict? Are you a leader? Are you a follower? Are there people in your group that maybe have a lot of ideas but are too introverted to bring them up? And it was good for me to see that as a leader of a community club or a chamber of commerce or whatever group you have, that the leader has to pull out these different personalities from the group and include everybody. Volunteers, we learned you can't hire volunteers and you can't fire volunteers. It's really a cool concept because you have to use what you have, and why not make the most of it and withdraw the information. You look at the dynamics of a group, and some people are very extroverted and they want to say their opinion right away without thinking. They're spontaneous. That's just their nature. Some people will sit and listen to the facts, and then at the end of the conversation they'll say, well, what do you think? And it all kind of comes back to, and it's nice to get decisions from everybody in the group, and ultimately you should vote on the major things. So I learned a lot about that. Learned a lot about conflict resolution.
Oh, that'd be good.
It was good. Was good for me, both in work and in volunteer organizations. It was intense. I'm assuming it still is. We started on Sunday. I think they start on Mondays now. I think they go Monday to Friday. We started Sunday afternoon and went late into the evening and started early in the morning. It's intense. You're tired at the end of the day, but it's well worth it. Like I told you earlier, I still have my book, and I bring it out every once in a while just to refer to where I fit into this group and what I learned there, and how I can use it in my place of employment or the group that I'm dealing with. Highly encourage it. It's a great week.
What I really like what you're saying, Darren, is yes, you can bring it back and use it in a group, but if you still have your book, that means that you use it probably in some of your everyday type things. Yeah,
no, everyday things. You learn a lot about yourself when you're there. Some people come back, and one thing you learn is you learn how to say no sometimes. If you're over-involved, maybe you're not as productive as you should be. And they do teach you how to say no. They might bring out some abilities that you bring back to get more involved. It's totally up to you. There's no pressure on jumping into that hometown when you get back and changing the world. There's no pressure from Blandin to do that. Naturally, what they do is naturally you're going to come back and either become more involved or back off from certain things or set your priorities where you want them to be set.
That sounds really cool. Well, what's really, really interesting about it is we as a community have that unique opportunity to get some of our people involved. So I really encourage you to go out onto the City of Vergas website, cityofvergas.com, and there's an application form for Blandin there. It gives you some information. What's very encouraging about it, it's a week-long retreat. It's October 6th through the 10th, and so it is a commitment. And like Darren, you and I visited your baby daughter, took her first steps while you were up there. So you missed that, but it was a commitment. But it is that week-long commitment, and it's in Grand Rapids. And so, but the only cost to you is getting there and getting back home, I suppose, if you're coming home. And then getting the time off from your employer is very important. But they give you your lodging, they give you your meals, and they give you this intense training. And so you have that week long, and then you have a follow-up. There'd be a follow-up in January of a 2-day to get back together with your people that you were there with, and that would be locally. And then the final follow-up is bring all this information to your community and let them know what you were doing and how you plan to invest into the community and how this can work. And so I really encourage you to go out, fill out an application. If you're 18 years old, if you're 85 years old, all you have to do is fill out an application. The application is very easy to fill out. Send it in. The more people they get that apply, the more pool that they'll have to pick from for people to be up there. The deadline for doing that, filling out the application, is August 4th, and there is a community meeting on July 28th at Billy's Corner Bar at noon, from noon to 1. Anybody who's interested, has some questions, come on down to Billy's on July 28th, and from noon to 1, and they'll give you some more information on that. So the community is involved, and for Vergas, they'll be at Billy's, and I think they'll be having one in Vergas also. There's one in Wolf Lake and in Frazee also. So thanks, Darren, very much. I'm glad you're a Blandin alum, and hey, if you want to visit with him about it, I know he'd want to do that too. So another good thing happening in Vergas. You have a good day.